Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Family Show, Season 2, Episode 28. And today with me, I have Miss Fredeye. And I have to say, I looked in your bio and I was really impressed by all the charity work you do and stuff like that. What really pushed you into doing that with your music?
Um, I've been actually professionally doing music since '96, and I joined my first band. To make a long story short, and then moving forward, blues singer, and then um, for the last 3 years, well, actually for a while, but actually the last 3 years, I've been wanting to do something gospel, a gospel album, and so a couple months ago. A guy from Ohio approached me about doing a single, and he said, "Pick whatever you want." He said, "But pick a spiritual." And I did, and I picked it because I remember singing that song, "Weight in the Water," as a child. So
Hmm.
that's how old that song is. It's older than me. But so just surrounding myself with people like we're all on the same page, the same chemistry, and that's where kind of came about. Trials and tribulations, errors and ways. So however you want to look at it.
Right. Well, I can kind of tell by listening to you sing, your there's a lot of emotion in what you're seeing. Like you have a very powerful voice and all that, but I can tell you try to put yourself almost in the place of the lyrics when you're singing because it comes through in your voice. And I'm wondering how does that affect you emotionally after you're on stage for a while?
Um, it affects me to the point that, and it depends upon the song too. A lot of because my emotion, my as you say, I put my person, as I call it, into the music, the singing that I do, the performance. It comes from things that I've seen and heard in my lifetime experience and other people. You'd be surprised if you just sit around. You don't have to engage in a conversation, but if you sit around with other people and you just listen and hear, what's going on inside of them, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. That's kind of my motivation as far as songs that I choose and I do. When I'm on stage, for instance, and I know a lot of people have got to know this one, At Last.
Mm,
It came out in the 50s, but Etta James made it famous in the 60s.
yeah.
And I have sang At Last for a couple that actually they follow me religiously. And he came up to me and said, "Can you sing At Last? I'm going to propose to her." And I'm like, "Oh, and that filled my heart. And I really put my heart and soul into that because that was a special moment for someone else.
Hmm.
And I've sang that song. So a lot of songs, if there's something going on, there's a song that I love doing by Bob Dylan, "Lord Protect My Child." And I have sang that so many different ways with both of my bands, and the room goes quiet. And I said, and I'm wondering, okay, why are you all quiet?
Right.
But people are trying to get into it. So I really, and I have cried, when I'm done with certain songs that I've seen, like I really, and then if my bandmates are really like, you can tell, like our chemistry gets going. And if they're playing, if they're really putting all of their energy into the music, that also helps too. And I cry, I laugh, I have a good time. I say, let's keep this going. And it does for 3 hours. Can you imagine going 3 hours straight?
Yeah. Well, actually, I can. I've done a 12-hour stream on here before, so I can imagine going for 3 hours. But in front of a crowd, that's got to be really tough.
Yeah.
Is there some place that you've played since you started that was kind of a dream place when you first started out in music to be able to think about playing at?
Um, Let's see. Let me think about that for a minute. Well, you know what? I got a chance to play the Blues Foundation 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 2018. I got a chance to perform with a friend of mine, Taz Crew, and his band, the Tortured Souls. And it has always been my thought to go down. I've been to Memphis on a few occasions, but to actually go down there and perform for one of their showcases for the Blues Music Awards was that's always been my, I've always wanted to do something like that because I was nominated for two Blues Music Awards. And there's a song I did, a couple songs off of my album that came out, and the one that I did, I mean, there was a photographer there, Bob. I'm telling you, I saw the emotion.
Right.
I said, wow. I said, is that me? I said, that doesn't look like me. And I sang, it's a love song Dr. John wrote. It's called Losing Battle. And I'm telling you, I could feel it, and I could hear my friend Taz Crew's band. Like, they knew what was going on with me. And
Right.
I was so excited. I was nervous because I've never done anything like that. I call the Blues Music Awards the Grammys of the blues. That's how I feel.
Wow.
And so to do a showcase like that, I was so excited, and I was so thankful and so grateful.
Well, especially I was reading your bio, and you basically, and I kind of want to know how it went from you as a young girl singing in church, and if you could go back in time and show you that, hey, I've got albums and all that stuff. You, as that young girl in church, you'd probably be happy but surprised at the same time.
Yeah, I would because, as a kid, um, me and a couple neighborhood, girls, we got together and we sang like whatever was out, the R&B, the Motown, the Stax records.
Mhm.
I was on the spectrum of going from the Beatles to Simon and Garfunkel to the Temptations or the Franklin. I was all over the place because I really love music. And when I was in middle school, I had a chance to join the choir, and the teacher had heard me sing. I was singing with some friends, just, messing around. And my mom didn't want me to go that route. I don't know what she was thinking as a kid. She wanted me to take driver ed, and I'm like, oh no, no choice. And so her solution was to, you need to go to church. You need to, you can do the singing in church, which I was okay with that. And
Mhm.
so if it was me telling that kid, I would probably be like, wow, I really did do that. That really was one of my dreams to do.
Right. That's amazing to be living that dream now, and it probably it's probably much more fulfilling than anything else you could think about doing at this point in your life as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm always grateful because I tell people, you have to go through something to get something. And a lot of people don't understand that
Mm,
because their head, they're not, I call it, your mind is not relaxed enough to actually focus on what there is a meaning behind everything that happens on this planet. And I
mm,
said, I'm no guru or anything like that. I said, but I've just learned to embrace life and look at it outside of me, the person.
right.
And that's just, I just find that's important. And you'd be surprised. People, there's certain songs that I really love doing over and over again. And when I take them off the set list, the audience, some people are like, hey, can you do that song? Oh, I haven't done that for a long time. I don't know if we remember that. And we do.
Right.
And we put our, all in thought into it. So that's where all that comes from. It's just reaching out spiritually, emotionally, and pretending you're that person or those persons.
Mhm. Yeah. And reaching out like that probably really brings a deeper connection with the audience and with you too. They probably go away from your show having a deeper experience themselves. Have you ever had anybody come up and tell you, that helped me get through a hard time or something like that? Any songs that you sang?
Like, give me a hard time about a song, or
No, that they helped them through a hard time.
oh yeah, you know what? Every last show that I do, the last 10 years, every single show that I have done, if not one or two, at least one person has come up and said, I really needed this. Whatever is going on in their life, I'll get whatever they're going through. I really needed this. Oh my God, that one song you sang, I can relate to it. It's like I see the emotion, I can feel what you're feeling, and it takes away what like whatever, I'm feeling. And yes, every single show, I'm telling you, whether it's my acoustic band or my electric blues band, every single show, I'm not lying, at least one person comes up. If there's 200 in the audience, if I'm in a small place, well, this is before the pandemic, of course.
Right.
Or if I've done festivals where there are people that have followed me. I mean, people are coming up and they're like, oh man, I've had people say, I proposed to my wife because you sang a certain song and she loved it and she loves you. And I said, oh, but that's what it's all about. And I love that. That just makes me, I can't quit what I'm doing now. I end up 6 feet under. That's just the bottom line.
Right.
I want to find all those old cats in the world, it's in their 80s, 85, still performing. I'm like, I got a long way to go, but I'll do that. I can do that.
It makes you take it from just being your dream to how you're doing it because you're helping other people out at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you, Bob, I'm a nurse by trade. and um, and I remember being, working at the bedside, taking care of patients. And I used to sing. I would just start singing, especially if I had a patient that I'm worried about, there's something going on, and I got to figure how I'm going to comfort this patient, how I'm going to take care of this patient, what's going to be my next step, and then I had to worry about everybody else. So my coworkers, they're used to like, something's going on with Fredeye, she's singing. And then a lot of my patients are like, people heard about me. They're like, where's that singing nurse I heard about? And I'm like, what? But it was not only to comfort myself, but to comfort, the fact that it's just not about me. It's not.
Right. Right. That's amazing. You probably brought a lot of peace to people when you sing, doing nursing as well. Um, probably took them back to maybe when they were younger and their mom or something like that would sing to them when they were little, and at least help them relax. If nothing else.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's especially when you're taking care of the older population. I don't call them senior citizens anymore. I call them people that have been around longer than I have.
Right.
And I've done a couple of songs, that, oh, I remember that song. I used to, and this is very, very interesting because no matter what you sing, I could sing something 40s pop if that was the case. And I think it's just all about deliverance and how you perceive it and how people perceive you, because people can tell if I'm genuine or not. I'm telling you. I said I must really be transparent. I must be a see-through person because
Right.
people can tell, you know what I mean, like how I'm feeling. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, why don't I take the music and project it back to them? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it works.
Yeah. Yeah. You you have the ability to project that emotion, and then people can perceive it a lot easier. And you have that ability more so than probably most people to do that too. Some people are able to kind of uh, keep a mask on their emotions and stuff, and you have that ability to express that. And that was probably something that you've noticed your whole life, being able to do that.
Yeah, and you know what? I really didn't embrace it. I probably have because I know being younger, I used to be the class clown, although I had
Mhm.
to keep my grades up. But I was like the class clown, and in high school, I wrote poetry. Like one day, I don't know, I think one of my friends was having a bad time in a relationship and they were trying to figure out what to do. And then I just started right. I said, well, let me just take this. Maybe I can write something. And I didn't know I had the knack to do that. I did
Wow.
not know that. I just started writing. So in high school, I was writing poetry for a lot of people, for bad relationships. I got good relationships. My teachers this, my parents are this. And so as I got older, I realized I'm like, oh, it really is not about me. It's about everybody else. And if I'm going to do these things, I really have to learn how to be receptive and be accountable too.
Right, right, definitely. The accountable part is a huge part that's missing when people get started doing this kind of stuff as well. And you can get all her stuff at missfredeye.com, and that's missfredeye.com. And you can find all her stuff there. And the album coming out is Wade in the Water, correct?
Yeah, that's my single that's out now. And they can get it. They can get it on iTunes, go on YouTube. I heard radios playing it, Amazon. Absolutely.
And how does that feel to have so many people like be able to hear and know your music now, compared to like when you're just starting out and there's very few people hearing it. And you go and see some of the numbers of the people that are hearing your stuff. Does it kind of shock you that that many ears have heard you?
Yes. It's it's overwhelmingly shocking, because when I first started out, I joined my first band in '96, and then 2002, 2003, I struck out on my own, and it's hard being a female. Um, Nobody, I mean, people, it was the local. I wasn't like going out of state yet or around the country yet to tour. I stayed local because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And to get the gigs, people never heard of me, so I sang a cappella. I chose a song. I would sing a cappella to the venues, and then, as time went on, more and more, and then when my albums were released and then this single, and I looked to see how many people, like Spotify, I think it was July or August. I think it was August. I had 14.5, like 14,500 people listen to me on Spotify. And I
Wow.
was just like, really? That was so exciting to me. And I said,
Right.
oh, wow, and I'm getting on social media. Thank you guys. Keep going with it. Um, I'm very humbled and I'm very honored that people take the time out. And it's like, oh, you know what? Let me listen. I heard about Miss Freddie. Let me
Mm,
just, and it excites me because it gives me the path that I need to keep on going with what I'm doing.
right. Right. And it's probably been hard to get used to as well. Like I know for me as I've had this thing growing and all that kind of stuff, it's hard to get used to. Um, has there been anybody that's made a comment about your song or anything like that that's made your day, like on Spotify or anything like that?
Um, let's see. I know on YouTube, the Wade in the Water on YouTube, and these are people that they've heard me sing. One person lives out of state. I don't know where that person lives at, but they've heard me live.
Mm,
And the comment that I get most is, wow, I love this. Keep doing this. And it's gospel.
yeah.
So yeah, the comments are, wow, they love it. One person's like, I've never heard you sing like this before. And I'm like, well, what do you think I was singing before? Like, how was I sounding? But, it went through my mind, but I said, okay, it's not a new territory, but it's a different path for me to take as a musician.
But it ties back into being that girl back in the church there. So it kind of, you're like, well, this is old school for me. I can do this no problem. I used to sing these every Sunday.
Yeah, and you know what? My church, we don't have a choir, the church that I go to. We don't have a choir, but we still do hymns in the church, in the spirituals. And it's fine. The pastor and or one of his family members will either play the organ or the piano. And 95% of the time it's the piano. And I'm okay with that. And the wild thing about that, what I love, there's a lot of songs. Oh, I remember singing this when I was a kid, or I'm like, geez. And so when it's time, like there's an afternoon service we have at my church, and the pastor will say, we have a book, and it has like about, I want to say almost 200 songs in it. So I know my three favorite, and I'm like, okay, I got to remember to mix those up, every time I come here for the afternoon service.
Right.
And it just brings back memories, when I, started out singing as a little kid, going to church every Sunday. And it makes me happy. And I feel so much better about that and all of this and how people, and what makes me happy is I'm telling you, I do shows in bars. I do. And what I have gotten for like the last several years, do you do gospel? And it kind of weirded me out at first. And not because do I do gospel, just like, we're in a bar. That's kind of like churchy stuff,
Right.
And then so I started pulling out some simple gospel tunes, and I've got a couple original, and I started singing them in the bar, and people like that. It's not about the building; it's about the sanity and the spirit of a person. It really is.
And all those people come up and saying that to you. It's almost like it was God telling you, I want you to sing these songs. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm telling people in a bar to tell you to sing gospel songs.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Well, what I tell my friends, and I tell a lot of people in general, I said, God's been throwing bricks at me. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep ducking. I said, I'm not getting it. I said, he's been throwing bricks at me, giving me hints all my life. But I really started paying attention several years ago. And I said, okay, you got me, Lord. I'm right there. I know I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. That's not a desire of me. I want to know what I can do to soothe the troubled souls out here. I said, because my soul is still troubled, but what can I do? Lift me up out of what I am to make me do what you need me to do. And he's done it. He's doing it through music.
Yep.
And anytime you could get little kids, and I'm talking about the school, like the elementary school, and even toddlers, to get up and wave their hands in the air like they don't care and dance, you're doing something.
And that probably tickles you the most, like seeing it, just being able to make kids have that joy where they can get up and dance.
Yep. And it's and I think it's so cute. And I'll get out there if I have a wireless mic. I'll get out there and I'll start dancing with the little kids. And then I know there's this winery here in the Pittsburgh area, and I know, well, we couldn't do it this year because of what's going on, but I know the last several years. Actually, we've been going here for 10 years now. I didn't realize that. And the little kids, I would have it's a huge stage outside, and there's a big rock in front of the stage. And so the little kids will get up on it. I'll invite the little kids on the stage. We're dancing, we're having fun. And one time I said, do you guys know what a paparazzi is? And they're like, no. I had like 3 or 4 kids on the stage. I said, watch what happens. I'll show you the paparazzi. So I started singing a song. The kids could sing with me, and all of a sudden the parents are like taking pictures. I said, that's a paparazzi. And little girl said, oh, my mother does that to me all the time. I said, well, she's your own paparazzi. And I said that on the microphone. People laugh, and the parents were still taking pictures. I said, oh my
Yeah.
God. But they like that. And I've had a parent come up and ask me if I could give her daughter lessons. I said, I have to be honest. I've never had a lesson in my life.
Mhm.
I've never had any theory, instruction, or nothing. I said, this is all natural. I can recommend friends who are trained and who could probably give vocal lessons, but I said, I'm not the one. And I said, I'm not being funny, And she's like, oh, I said, no, I really wouldn't know how to teach a 10-year-old, give her like pointers on singing. So I said,
Right.
just if it's in your heart, just,
Yeah. Well, it'll be amazing to see in the years forward if any of those people, any of those kids you have on stage singing or whatever with you for a minute, if any of them that gives them the little bug and they end up being a singer and they're like, oh, I remember it was being on stage with Miss Pretty and we were singing and that's what really made me want to do this and I can see that happening sometime in the future.
and I hope so. And, because it's the younger generation. I'd like to keep them motivated, through song. And
Mm,
if it starts with them being 3 years old, or if it starts with them being 20 years old, it's all about the motivation. I just don't want them to get into it to be famous and to,
right.
make money. It's like you've got to have some kind of spirit behind that.
Yep.
You
Yeah.
got to believe in yourself. You got to have a faith, to move you forward. And there's a song called "Don't Let Nobody Drag Your Spirit Down," and I kind of use that and I sing that. It's kind of like a folk gospel blues song, and I tell people, no matter what or who, don't let nothing drag your spirit down.
Right. That's a very good point because it's very easy to let lots of things drag your spirit down in life. And I'm sure you experience a lot of those times on your way to getting to where you're at right now. Um, was there one point when you thought about just giving up on music and saying maybe in nursing and not doing it at all?
Oh yes. Oh yes, Bob. A lot of times. Um, a whole lot of times. You know what? I think after several years after striking out on my own and forming my own band and then two bands, um, I just felt because I didn't have like the musical experience like my bandmates have.
Mhm.
Like they can, they know notes, they know how to arrange stuff. I didn't know how to do that, and booking gigs, and I don't mind booking gigs. I do it anyway. Neither, but nobody in both bands want to do it. I said, okay, I'll do it, but I try to be fair. But there came a point before my second album came out 3 years ago that I kind of I'm like, why do I keep doing this? And it was interfering in relationships, family, love relationships, even my relationship with God. Because all of a sudden I'm working full time as a nurse. I'm trying to hold down my home and I love what I do. And every time I would become sad or depressed, I would start booking more gigs. And I'm like, well, this isn't working for me. I need to, I'm not going anywhere with this. I need not to do this. And I don't know where I was at. I was doing a gig one day and there was a particular song I was doing. And this lady, she was in a wheelchair. She came up to me after the show and she said, child, I've never heard nobody sing like you before. I said, oh, thank you. You're supposed to be polite.
Right.
And she said, no, I mean it. She said, because I don't really go out. She said, I had heard about you. And I said, oh, that's just another somebody trying to, make it, want to be. And
Mm,
at first, I kind of felt like, what? Really? And then I said, let me step back and actually listen to this lady. And I did, and she meant it. And then later on, there were a couple of people, they're like, Miss So and so. And I'm like, yeah, what about her? I said, yeah, she kind of read me the riot act. They're like, no. She loves you. You got to keep on doing this. Don't stop. And then there was another time I was in a bar singing, and this nurse, well, I thought she was a nurse, all white, and she stayed the whole night. She came up to me. She's like, "Thank you. I really love what you did." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm glad, fellow nurse." And she's like, "Yeah, we were, And she said, "I stopped in here to get a stiff drink because I was on my way home. I was planning on killing my husband because I found out he was having an affair." Bob,
Wow.
my heart fell on the floor. The blood rushed out and went down the sewer
Wow.
pipe somewhere. I'm like, oh, please, God, I don't want to witness nothing.
Right.
And so, I thanked her and I said, well, please think of, and she told me she had a young baby. And I'm like, well, you realize if you do that, the baby's not going to have neither one of you. I said,
Yeah.
think about it. But long story short, months later, she came back. I was in the same venue. She came in and she stayed till we were done for the night. She came up to me and she thanked me. She said, that night I went home, I confronted him, and I told him, I know you messing around and I'm done. She said, I had a revelation, and she took the baby and left. Until this day, I haven't seen her for a couple of years because this happened some years ago.
Mm.
And she had remarried, had more kids, and she introduced her new husband to me. You know what she said? She said, "This woman saved my life one night." And when she walked away after she introduced me, I started crying. I said, and now I know why. And I'm getting ready to cry now. Sorry.
Wonderful.
Now I know why I'm supposed to be doing this. It's not about me. It's not about feeling sorry and giving up because it ain't just working out the way I want it.
Right.
And Bob, and after that, I'm like, here I am.
Yeah. 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 Whatever you want me to do, God, I'm here for it.
That's
Let's make
right.
it
And
happen.
that's right. And I pray every day, I said, give me the strength to do what I have to do. And when it's time for a gig, I'll pray. I'm like, this is what you need to do. Guide me and show me, please.
Yeah.
I'm your vessel. So, and it works out. I'm getting ready to
Yeah.
cry, Bob. Sorry.
It's just that
Oh,
it'll be the first time there's some tears on this channel. I've shed my own in here. And Chasing America, they said they went to listen to some of your music, and oh my God, you are amazing. And she is. She's got your
oh, thank you guys. You're gonna make me cry. Stop it.
your
Thanks,
your,
guys.
your
It's
voice is really powerful, really powerful
oh,
voice. So, and I was really impressed by it, and I really can't wait to see where you go because I feel like Wade in the Water when I listen to it. I feel like that's what's going to get you to take off, and it's kind of for your story. It's kind of amazing that it would be a gospel song that finally made you take off after all the years of trying.
yeah. I guess because a lot of fans and a lot of people out there in the world, not just locally, but in the States and even overseas, are like, when are you gonna do a gospel album? I'm like, okay, that's the brick God keeps throwing at me. And
But,
then, I said, all right, I'm going to do it. So my hope and my prayer is to have it out by late spring, early summer of 2021. That's my hope and prayer. So pray for me, you guys. I'm hoping, this is going to be all for you guys. So,
well, I definitely will be, and it'll be exciting to see you because that'll be probably actually be able to go on tour again after it releases then too. So it'll be awesome to see that. And I would love to have you come back on when you have some tour dates and stuff, so we can kind of promote that as well and help you out in that area. Um, and Chasing America says, "Girl, you deserve all the praise. Anyone with pipes like that is shipped with God."
oh, thank you so much. And I tell people, it ain't nothing but God's business. This
Mm.
is his doing because the moment I start acting like I'm on that in a bag of chips, guess what? He's taking the bag of chips away from me. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. No, no, no.
Yeah.
So I try to, and it's funny you say that because I'm actually getting ready to go in a studio for another band, like some friends and I know this Sunday to lay down a gospel song with them. So I'm excited,
Well, I,
to be asked that. And I get asked by a few bands to, can you come in? You got that. gospel like voice. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
Like,
I
you sure
mean,
it's me? But I'm honored to do it, and I'm so like, when I get off from here, I am gonna like say my prayer and say, you know what, God, thank you once again. It's all about you and what you need for us to do.
yeah,
So
and it's amazing because I don't really look at people's stuff too far ahead of time that I have booked on here because I want to kind of have it fresh in my mind and all that stuff.
yeah.
And it's kind of amazing that it's taken off like this because you're the 60th guest I've had on, and
Oh,
I prayed to God before I started this and said, "Hey, I'm willing to work my butt off for it, but I need people to hear the message that I'm trying to spin." And when I did that, I had maybe like 5 people, and I didn't know how it was going to work out.
yeah.
And so to be talking to people like you and other people is really amazing to me, and shows the power of prayer on my side too. And so I'll definitely be praying for you, and I appreciate you being on today. And
Oh,
everybody,
you are so welcome. And you know what? Congratulations on doing this. And, thank you for supporting, us artists who are trying to get out there and who want to make a difference, among our fellow mankind. I mean, really,
yeah,
it's about you guys at the end of the day. It's never about me. And I even say that at my job as a nurse.
yeah.
And I tell my family that. So,
Yeah, I want everybody to. The reason I love doing that is I want everybody to live their dream. Because the more people that see that it can happen for them, then
yeah,
maybe the more people will be happy in this world because they'll be like, "Well, I'm at least going to give it a shot. I'm
yep.
not going to just think about it and then live in regret most of my life." So
Absolutely. Amen to that. I like that. That's pretty good. I like that a lot. And thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate this.
yeah, no
Um,
problem.
I will
Yeah,
keep you in mind and send you. Well, I guess everything is digital now. So,
yeah,
when the album comes out, it'll be digital. So,
yeah. Awesome. And MissFredeye.com, and you add a Y on the after the or an E after the Y out there on Miss Freddie, and
yep.
stick with me for a minute. Everybody else that's listening out there, stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen. And I will see you guys next time.